Hi friends, welcome to session 2, Structural Organization in Animals. Before going in detail, we can solve the previous questions that I had given in the first session. Now, you can verify your answers. Your first question was, name the different cell junctions found in tissues. Tight junctions, adhering junctions and gap junctions. Thus, there are three different types of cell junctions present in the epithelial tissues. What are neuroglia cells? Give their functions. You know already, neuroglia cells are the non-nervous cells that are seen in between the neurons in the nervous tissue, and their functions, they provide protection, mechanical support and nutrition to the neurons. Yet another name of this neuroglia cell, it is glia cells. Your third question, it was, which type of epithelium is seen in the urinary bladder and why? You know it is, yes, of course, the transitional epithelium. Why it is seen in the urinary bladder? Already I have told you, it is capable of stretching. So, it is present in the urinary bladder. It can stretch and accommodate maximum amount of urine for temporary storage. Which type of epithelial cells are seen in the fallopian tubules as well as in the bronchioles? So, this was your fourth question. Yes, your answer is ciliated epithelium, because it helps in the filtration of air, it helps in secretion of mucus, as well as here in fallopian tube it helps in the propulsion of ovum. Now, at another question, it was, write the differences between white fibers and yellow fibers, a very important concept. You can verify your answer. Regarding the white fibers, see the characters. White fibers are known as collagen fibers. They are unbranched and they are non-elastic. They are always seen in bundles and made up of the protein collagen, and they gives tensile strength. So, all these are the typical characters of white fibers. Now, the characters of these yellow fibers, they are known as elastin fibers. They are branched ones, they are thin and elastic, seen singly, made up of the protein elastin, and they contributes elasticity. Give 3 secretions of mast cells. You know mast cells you have seen in the areolar connective tissue, and this mast cell, the oval or spherical cell which secretes heparin, the anticoagulant, natural anticoagulant present in the blood. Then another molecule, that is serotonin and histamine. Now, what are Schwann cells? Yes, your answer. These are the cells present in the neuron and which makes the myelin sheath. Your next question, name two neurotransmitters. Yes, very important question. Acetylcholine and adrenaline. These two act as neurotransmitters, help in the transmission of nerve impulses. Which gland is known as the composite gland? Composite gland means mixed gland. It is pancreas. A part of it is exocrine and the other is endocrine. It can act as both exocrine and endocrine. Pancreas is your answer, correct. What are goblet cells? Where are they located? Single celled glands, they are known as goblet cells and they are normally seen in the alimentary canal. Now, coming to the next type of connective tissue. In the first session, we dealt with the loose connective tissue, that was areolar connective tissue. The second type of loose connective tissue, that is adipose tissue. It is made up of cells known as adipocyte. Cyte means cell, adipose means fat storing cells. So, adipocytes are the fat storing cells which will make the tissue adipose tissue. Matrix of this tissue contains macrophages as well as white fibers. They are found under the skin, they are found beneath the skin, around the kidneys, under the eyeball, they are seen in the heart and in the bone marrow. Its function is it stores fat, hence it can act as an insulator and it will prevent heat loss. Moreover, since it acts as an layer, it can absorb the shock. So, it acts as a shock absorber. Now, coming to the next category of connective tissue, that is the dense connective tissue. Fibers and fibroblasts are arranged very compactly. From this term itself, it is clear, dense, it is thick. The cells are fibroblast cells as well as these fibers, they are arranged very compactly, forming the dense connective tissue. The orientation of fibers, it may be regular or it may be irregular. For example, tendons and ligaments. Tendons and ligaments, they are coming under this category of dense connective tissue. You know tendon, the connective tissue that connects the muscles with the bones, that is tendon, and the connective tissue that connects the two bones together in a joint, that is known as ligament. Now, coming to the types of dense connective tissue. Dense regular and dense irregular. There are two types based on the arrangement of fibers as well as the fibroblasts. If they are arranged in a proper manner, regular manner, then we can call it as dense regular connective tissue. And if they are arranged in an irregular manner, then it is known as dense irregular connective tissue. Now, coming to the characters of these two different types of dense connective tissue. So, what are the differences between a dense regular connective tissue and a dense irregular connective tissue. Here in this diagram, you can see and identify some of the characters. Dense irregular tissue, bundles of white fibers are arranged parallel to one another. Here the fibers, they are arranged parallel to one another. Fibroblasts are seen in between the white fibers in rows. The cells fibroblast, they are seen in between the fibers, white fibers, and they are also seen in definite rows. So, they are also arranged in a definite manner, regular manner. They join muscles to bones. And coming to the dense irregular tissue, the second diagram, here these white fibers, they are arranged in an irregular manner. There is no specific arrangement. There is no definite arrangement for these white fibers, they are seen scattered. And fibroblast cells, that is also seen scatteredly arranged in this tissue. And their function is, they are mainly meant for protection. So, these are the main differences between these dense regular connective tissue and dense irregular connective tissue. Now, coming to the specialized connective tissue. Which one is special connective tissue? Yes, of course, they are the bones, cartilage and blood. Bones, cartilage and blood are the included under the category of special connective tissue. First, we can go to the structure of bone. You know, bone is a connective as well as a supportive tissue. So, it is known as a supportive connective tissue. It forms the major part of endoskeleton in human body. It is solid, it is a hard tissue, it is a rigid one, and it is the strongest connective tissue present in the human body. Now, you can see the diagram of the bone here. Matrix, it is made up of protein that is called as osin. Here it is made up of a matrix, and that matrix is made up of protein, and this protein, that is osin. So, matrix is made up of protein, that protein is osin in the case of bones. Now, it contains inorganic matter which includes phosphates, sulfates, carbonates, fluorides of calcium as well as magnesium. The inorganic matter which gives hardness to the bone. Bone cells are known as osteocytes. Here you can see these are the bone cells, and they are arranged in concentric units in the form of layers or lamellae or ring. So, these cells, these bone cells, they are named as osteocyte. Cyte means cell, osteo means bone. So, bones are made up of cells, they are known as osteocytes. The most abundant mineral present in the bone, that is calcium phosphate. As age increases, the amount of inorganic matter will also increases. So, as a result of this, the bones become brittle, and they are labile to break or breakages, fragile. Long bones such as humerus and femur, they are hollow in nature, whereas small bones, they are solid in nature. The hollow portion of the bone, that is not empty, but it is filled with tissue, that is known as bone marrow. Now, there are different types of bone marrow. One is a red bone marrow and the other is yellow bone marrow. A red bone marrow, it is highly vascularized. It contains large amount of blood vessels and it forms the erythrocytes, RBCs. You know the formation of RBC, that is hemopoiesis, and they will help in the formation of leukocytes. Formation of blood cells, hemopoiesis, formation of RBC, erythropoiesis. So, they help in the formation of erythrocytes as well as leukocytes. Now, regarding the yellow bone marrow, they are mainly meant for the storage of fat and produces blood cells only during emergency situations. Now, coming to the structure of this bone, when we are observing, we can see, you just go through this particular diagram, you can see the bone is covered by an outer tissue. That external covering of the bone, that is made up of white fibrous sheath. It is known as periosteum. Osteum refers to bone, osteo refers to bone, peri means outside periphery. So, externally it is covered by a white fibrous sheath, that is known as periosteum. Periosteum. Then, when you are observing inside, you can see different concentric units. You go through this diagram, try to identify. These are the circular units, concentric units, and it is known as the Haversian system. So, there are so many Haversian system in a bone. Now, when you are observing a Haversian system, here you can see at the center there is a canal, and this hollow canal, that is known as Haversian canal. It contains blood vessels, nerves and even lymph vessels also. Here around this Haversian canal, the cells are arranged in concentric rings. Which cell? Yes, osteocytes. Osteocytes are arranged in concentric rings, and these rings or layers, they are known as lamella, lamellae plural. Then each of these osteocytes, when you are observing, they are arranged on an empty space, and that empty space in which the osteocytes are arranged, it is known as the lacunae. Lacunae means empty space, and this space is not empty, but it contains the bone cells, that is the osteocytes. Now, what is canaliculi? Now, you can see canaliculi, they are the branches of the osteocyte. See the osteocyte, this is the diagram of a single osteocyte bone cell. It is highly branched one, contains a nucleus at the center and cytoplasm. And these branches they are known as the canaliculi. So, canaliculi are the branches of osteocytes, and they are the protoplasmic processes arising from this osteocyte. I have already told you, at the center of each Haversian system, each concentric unit, you can see a central lumen, and it is known as the Haversian canal. And the Haversian canal, when you are observing, it is made up of, or it contains blood vessels, nerves as well as lymph vessels. Thus, we can call a single Haversian system as an osteon. It contains Haversian canal at the center, and you just see what are the different components contributes to a Haversian system. At the center here you can see the Haversian canal. Then around it there are lamellae, the concentric layers, and in this concentric layer the cells are arranged. Which cell? Osteocytes. And you have already seen these osteocytes, they have a branches, that is canaliculi. So, all these things, this particular structure with the Haversian canal at the center, lamellae with osteocyte and canaliculi together forms the Haversian system or an osteon. Now, coming to the diagram of a cartilage, here you can see the structure of a cartilage. When we consider its abundance, its presence in our body, it is a less abundant supportive connective tissue. It is solid in nature, but it is semi-rigid. It is a soft one and it is flexible. And they are made up of cells, and these cells we will call it as chondrocyte. See here the diagram, you can see the chondrocytes. Two chondrocytes are seen here. You know bone cell, osteocyte, cartilage cell, chondrocytes. Now, when you go through this diagram, you can see that these cells are seen in a group of either 2 or 3 or even 4. Very rarely they are seen singly. So, they are seen in a group of 2 or even 3 or even 4. Here also, as in the case of osteocytes, these chondrocytes are also seen in fluid filled space. Here you can see they are seen in the fluid filled spaces, they are known as the lacunae. Now, regarding its matrix, the fluid structure matrix, it is made up of protein, and that protein is known as chondrin. You know already the protein that makes the matrix of bone, that is ossin. Here it is chondrin. Chondra refers to cartilage. It is without any blood supply. The matrix is without any blood supply. It is covered by a dense fibrous sheath. As in the case of bone, here also it is covered externally by the dense fibrous sheath, and it is known as perichondrium. There it was periosteum, which contains blood vessels, and these blood vessels they will provide nourishments to the cartilage tissues. Matrix contains the fiber, that is the collagen fiber or white fibers. Now, coming to the different types of cartilage, one is hyaline cartilage. The matrix is transparent, homogeneous, and it is slightly elastic in nature, and it is seen in the limb bones, at the end portion of the limb bones. It is present in the sternum, the chest bone, and nasal septum, as well as in the larynx. Now, coming to the second type of cartilage, that is the fibrous cartilage. Matrix contains large number of fibers, so the term fibrous cartilage. Calcified cartilage, the third type, calcified, it is hard. Matrix contains more amount of calcium salts, that is why it is very hard in nature. Since it is very hard, it is inelastic as well as brittle. So, these are the different types of cartilage: hyaline cartilage, fibrous cartilage and calcified cartilage. Now, the most important question, that is the differences between bone and a cartilage. Yes, I think you can solve this one. Regarding bone, it is hard, rigid and non-flexible. Regarding cartilage, soft, it is semi-rigid and it is highly flexible. Bone is made up of protein, yes, osin, and cartilage is made up of the protein chondrin. More amount of calcium and phosphate is present in the bone, and the amount of calcium phosphate is very less in cartilage compared to bone tissue. And the cells are known as osteocytes in bone, and the cartilage cell, they are known as chondrocytes. Cells have a canaliculi, that means branches in the case of bone cells. But chondrocytes, they do not have any branch. So, canaliculi is totally absent. Haversian system present in the case of bone, the circular units, that we will call it as Haversian system or even osteon, it is present. But here in cartilage, Haversian system is totally absent. Osteocytes, you have already seen in the case of bone, they are seen singly, not in groups. But in the case of cartilage, you have already seen, you can see here also, they are seen in the group of either 2 or 4. Very rarely the cells are seen singly. Matrix is vascular in the case of vascularized in the case of bone, and it is non-vascular or vascularized in the case of cartilage. Cells are arranged in lamellae, definite concentric rings, and here not arranged in lamellae. Cells are not arranged in any concentric pattern layer. Here the outer covering of the bone, that is known as periosteum, and in cartilage it is known as perichondrium. Now coming to the blood, the fluid connective tissue, you know the fluid part of blood is called as plasma, and the color is straw colored, and it forms about 55 to 60% of the total blood volume. Plasma is made up of mainly water. 90 to 92% of plasma is made up of water. Then 1 to 2% that is made up of inorganic salts. 6 to 8% of plasma contains proteins. 1 to 2% of the plasma that contains other organic compounds. Plasma proteins. There are 3 important plasma proteins. They are albumin, globulin and fibrinogen. Now, what are the functions of plasma? They help in transportation, homeothermy, temperature regulation, pH constancy, maintains the pH of the blood. It helps in blood clotting because it contains the protein fibrinogen. It contributes to immunity. Again, it contains the protein globulin. You know, immunoglobulin, the antibodies made up of globulin protein. Then it contributes to osmotic balance. Now, regarding the second component of blood, that is the blood corpuscles. They are called as formed elements. 40 to 45% of the blood contains the blood corpuscles or formed elements. And these formed elements, blood corpuscles, blood cells, they will float freely in the plasma. the fluid medium, and it includes the formed elements or blood corpuscles which include RBCs, WBCs and platelets. Now, regarding RBCs, the other name of it is erythrocyte. Erythro means red, cyte means cell. So, here you can see the diagram of erythrocyte also. See, these are the diagrams here. RBCs, red blood cells or erythrocytes, shape oval or biconvex, and it is nucleated in all the vertebrates, but exception is mammals. Except mammal, it is biconvex and oval in shape, and it contains the nucleus. Now, it is circular and biconcave, disc-like structure, and it is without any nucleus in the case of almost all the mammals except the case of camel. Here you can see these are the spherical RBCs of humans, and they may be spherical or even we can say they are biconcave, disc-like structure without any nucleus. Here there is no nucleus, but it is filled with hemoglobin. Why the nucleus is absent in the RBC, mature RBC? Because it can accommodate maximum amount of hemoglobin. So, that is why RBC cells, mature mammalian RBC cells are without any nucleus. The one and only exception that I have already told you, it is the camel RBC, that is nucleated. It contains the pigment, red colored pigment, that is hemoglobin, which contains two parts, heme and globin, iron part and protein part. They are meant for transport of respiratory gases, carbon dioxide as well as oxygen. The normal RBC count, a little bit additional information I would like to give you. Normal RBC count in an adult human male, that is 5 to 5.5 million per cubic millimeter of blood. And in the case of female, it is 4.5 to 5 million per cubic millimeter of blood. And the count of RBC, we can count the number of RBCs by using an instrument, and it is known as the hemocytometer. Now, there are some of the abnormal conditions. If the number of RBC decreases in the body, it is known as anemia, and if it increases in the body, then it is known as polycythemia. Now, what about the lifespan of an RBC? It can live up to 120 days. Now, coming to WBC cells, they are known as leukocyte or white blood corpuscles. Average WBC count is 7,000 per cubic millimeter of blood. Increase in the WBC count, that we can say it is leukocytosis, and if the WBC count decreases, then we will call it as leukopenia. Now, coming to the different types of WBCs, here you can see we can divide it into two categories. One is granulocyte and the other is agranulocyte. Granulocyte contains granules. The term itself indicates the presence of small spherical structures, granules in its cytoplasm. Here you can see in both these type of cells, granules are present in the cytoplasm, and they have the lobed nucleus. So, they are known as polymorphonuclear leukocytes. WBCs are known as polymorphonuclear leukocytes. Their nucleus varies in shape and structure. There are three types of granulocyte: neutrophil, basophil and eosinophils. Here you can see the diagram of these three different types of cells and try to identify. Neutrophils, all the three are spherical cells. Neutrophils with a lobed nucleus, and these lobed nucleus, you can see the or even you can count the number of lobes of the nucleus. And here the cytoplasm is having small pink colored or mauve colored granules when we are stained these blood smear with a Leishman stain. And eosinophils, you have a spectacle shaped bilobed nucleus with orange colored large granules in its cytoplasm. Basophils, the nucleus is lobed, but the lobes are not clear, not distinct, and it contains blue colored granules, large coarse granules on its cytoplasm. So, these are the three different identifying features of these cells, granulocytes. Now, coming to a granulocyte. A granulocytes are otherwise known as these are the cells that are without any granules in its cytoplasm, granules absent. They are non-lobulated, they have a non-lobulated nucleus. Nucleus is without any lobes. You can see here the different types of A granulocytes. Cytoplasm is without any granule, and the different types of these A granulocytes are, one is lymphocyte and the other is monocyte. Lymphocytes are, again you can see two different types, one is large lymphocyte and the other is small lymphocyte. See, monocytes are the largest sized cells present in the bloodstream. It has a large kidney shaped nucleus with a cytoplasm, purple colored cytoplasm when we are staining it with a Leishman stain. And here also you can see nucleus, large nucleus, and a little bit of peripheral cytoplasm, that is purple in color when we are using Leishman stain. So, these are the different types. Now, again from its regarding its formation, we can classify the lymphocytes into two different types. One is B lymphocyte and the other is T lymphocyte. B lymphocyte is for bone marrow, B for bone marrow. They are formed from the bone marrow and remains in the bone marrow for or even after maturation, proliferation, differentiation. But T lymphocytes, they will migrate to the thymus gland for further differentiation. Now, coming to the third type of cell, that is the blood platelets. They are known as thrombocytes. They are colorless, without any hemoglobin. They are spindle shaped cells, and these thrombocytes or even blood platelets, they are formed from a large sized cell present in the bone marrow, and that large sized parental cell of the blood platelet, it is known as megakaryocyte. You know, mega means large, it possesses a large nucleus. So, this is a large cell present in the bone marrow. One megakaryocyte on division, it produces 1000 platelets. They are non-nucleated, without any nucleus, and they helps in blood clotting during any injuries and prevents profuse bleeding. Now, coming to the muscular tissue, mesodermal in origin, from the middle layer it is formed. Muscle cells are called as muscle fibers. You know, fiber is elongated one. Here the cells are elongated and hence it is known as muscle fibers. Muscle cell, it is known as muscle fiber. They are elongated, fiber like, and they are capable of contraction and relaxation, contractile. The cell membrane of a muscle cell is known as sarcolemma. Lemma means membrane, sarco refers to muscle. Cytoplasm of muscle cell is known as sarcoplasm, and the mitochondrion present in the muscle cell, that is known as sarcosomes. Muscle fiber, when we are observing, they are again made up of small filamentous structures. They are known as myofibrils. Now, coming to the different types of muscular tissue, striated muscles, non-striated muscle and cardiac muscle. Very important concept. Now, what are the characteristics of a striated muscle? You can see the diagram and try to identify the characters here. They are elongated, unbranched, cylindrical, and they have a dark and light bands. These are the dark bands, and in between the dark bands you can see the light bands or striations. Since striations are present, they are known as striated muscles, and nuclei are seen in the periphery. Multinucleated ones and nuclei are seen in the periphery. And here they are seen attached with the bones, so they are known as skeletal muscle. Since they have striations or strips, they are known as stripped muscles. They act according to our will and wish, so they are the voluntary muscles. They are attached to the bones or even skeletal tissue by tendons. Now, coming to smooth muscles, they are elongated and spindle shaped. They show overlapping. Here you can see they do not have any strips or striations, dark and light bands absent. Nucleus is seen at the center of the cell and only one nucleus. So, they are uninucleated, and they are mainly seen in the visceral organs or internal organs, and hence they are known as visceral tissue. Cells are spindle in shape. They are involuntary muscles because they will not act according to our will and wish. We can't regulate their action. So, it is known as involuntary muscles. They are totally unbranched and they show overlapping. Now, coming to the third type of muscle, that is cardiac muscles. They are seen in the heart tissue. They are cylindrical. You can see here the diagram. They are cylindrical, elongated, but they are highly branched ones, and they are uninucleated. Nuclei are seen here at the center. Striations are present, dark and light bands are present, but they are faint. They are not that much clear as that of striated muscles. And there is yet another identifying feature is the presence of a junction, intercalated disc. It is the junction between the two neighboring cardiac muscles. So, this is yet another identifying feature of cardiac muscle. One is they are highly branched, the other is they contains faint striations, and they are uninucleated. They have intercalated disc, the junction between the union of two neighboring cardiac muscle cells. They are highly vascularized. They are involuntary. We can't regulate the function of these cardiac muscles, and they contains numerous mitochondria. Now, you can identify the differences between these two different types of muscles, striated muscle and non-striated muscle or smooth muscle. Striated muscle is known as skeletal muscle because they are attached to the skeleton. Smooth muscles are known as visceral muscles because they are seen in the visceral organs or internal organs. They are long and cylindrical and they are unbranched. Here these are short and spindle shaped. Multinucleated, striated muscles are multinucleated. Nucleus you can see in the periphery. Here come to these smooth muscles, they are uninucleated and nucleus is seen exactly at the center of each cell. Presence of striations. You can see dark and light bands or strips or striations in these striated muscles. Such striations are totally absent in non-striated muscles. And these striated muscles, they are highly vascularized, whereas non-striated muscles are less vascularized. Now, compare your cardiac muscle with that of striated muscle. Striated muscle, how it differ from cardiac muscles. Striated muscles have dark striations, cardiac muscles have light striations or faint striations. Striated muscle is voluntary, whereas cardiac muscle is involuntary. Striated muscles are seen attached to the skeleton or bones, and here they are seen in the heart. And it is unbranched, whereas cardiac muscles are branched. Striated muscle is multinucleated, whereas cardiac muscle is uninucleated. Intercalated discs are totally absent in the case of striated muscles, but intercalated discs are seen in the cardiac muscles. So, these are the typical identifying features of cardiac muscles with that of striated muscles. Now, write the differences between RBCs and WBCs. This is also another important concept coming in this chapter. RBCs, as the term indicates, red blood corpuscles. WBCs are known as white blood corpuscles. Red in color, and here it is colorless or white in color. White is red in color because of the presence of hemoglobin. Here it is hemoglobin is absent. Mature RBCs, mammalian RBCs, they are non-nucleated, but WBCs are nucleated. RBCs are only one type, but WBCs are of two different types, granulocyte and agranulocytes. RBCs are mainly meant for transport of respiratory gases, whereas WBCs, they help in protection, protecting the body from diseases. Now, what are the different special properties of muscle cell, muscular tissue? They are capable of excitability, then extensibility, elasticity and contractility. So, these are the four special features of or properties of a muscle cell: excitability, extensibility, elasticity and contractility. Explain the structure of a muscle fiber, very important concept again. Already I have told you muscle cells are known as muscle fibers. Fiber means elongated structure. Since they are elongated, they are known as the muscle fiber. And again, when we observe a muscle fiber, it is made up of small filaments and they are known as myofibril. Each myofibril, it possesses an alternate dark and light bands. Here you can see the structure, a myofibril portion with alternate dark band. This is the dark band, red in color, and here it is the light band that I have shown with the green color. So, there are alternated dark band, light band, dark band, light band like this. And these dark and light bands, we are calling it as striations or strips. Now, dark band when we are observing, it is known as A band. Dark band or yet another name is A band or anisotropic band. A for aniso. Then A band is made up of filaments, protein filaments, that is myosin. Myosin filaments. Light band is known as isotropic band. So, it is written as I band, I for isotropic band. I band is made up of the protein that is known as actin. So, it is made up of actin filaments. At the center of the dark band, there is a light zone, and that zone is known as H zone. Here you can see at the center of this dark band, here there is a light zone, and this light zone that is known as H zone. At the center of H zone, there is a dark line, and this dark line, this is the light zone that I have shown here, that is the H zone, and at the center of this H zone, when you are observing, we can see a dark line, and this dark line that is known as the M line. At the center of the light band, see the light band, the I band. At the center of this light band, here you can see a dark line, and this dark line that is known as Z line. Now, here you can see the diagram of a sarcomere, the full diagram, this much portion that is known as the sarcomere. Now, what is a sarcomere and what it comprises? Sarcomere is the portion between two Z lines. Z lines you have seen, it is the line, the dark line that is seen at the center of light band. See, this is the light band, this much green portion, this is the light band, and at the center of this light band, here you can see a dark line, Z line. So, this is the Z line. Here also this is the Z line. Now, the portion of the myofibril between two consecutive Z line, that is known as sarcomere. So, this much portion that forms the sarcomere. And now, what a sarcomere contains? Just see, a sarcomere contains full dark band. See this red colored portion, that is the dark band, and this dark band full, one full dark band and half of the I band. This full is a one I band, but only half portion is coming in a sarcomere. One full dark band and half of the I band on either side, that forms the unit of contraction, which is known as the sarcomere. Now, this is the time for you to think and answer. Mention any two similar properties of neuron and muscle fiber. How will you identify cardiac muscle from smooth muscle? Draw the diagram of a sarcomere. You have already seen the diagram, and it is, I think it is easy for you to make now. Now, diagrammatically represent the different types of WBCs. Already you know it is agranulocyte and granulocytes. You have already seen the diagram. Thank you.